Anyways, people, we are the Technical Difficulties Podcast with Luke Thomas. Just kidding. This is the Leg Kick Podcast. Our Africans now. No, you can't eat your fucking pancakes. And he's switching back and forth. Anyway, well, what do we just have to put up with giving the viewers seizures and me? Why do you keep switching back and forth, Mike? You're a disaster today.
I don't see that.
You don't see that?
No, we're good.
Okay, all right. I'll just put up with it and have my seizure. So, anyways, we're the Leg Kick Podcast. Mike thinks it's becoming of the podcast host to eat pancakes on air, come nearly 30 minutes late before we're ready to go.
Sleeveless.
Absolutely shameless. Absolutely shameless.
You guys should report it to HR. Oh, wait.
What, Hosko Resources? So we're coming off the heels of a surprisingly good UFC card in which, surprise, surprise, Nigeria reigns supreme once again. Wakanda forever. They're here to take the welterweight title. They're also here to take that $300 you have saved up in your account because they're stranded in a foreign land and they need your help. But they're princes. There's many princes in Nigeria. So, we got some fun things to talk about today. It was actually a surprisingly fun weekend. We've got we weren't able to do a podcast on Friday, unfortunately. So I have my bad take saved up. So we're going to do a bad take segment at the end of the podcast. We've got a lot of news to discuss. But first, we just want to introduce ourselves. Please allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is O. So we've got Jeremy Jaloff over here, fresh off his carp fishing trip. Jeremy, say hello to the people.
Howdy do.
Wow, I was actually watching Gone with the Wind last night, and it's very typical of that period, that greeting. So thank you for that, Jeremy. Then we have up here the glue that holds us all together. We have
Gone with the Wind, a romance movie.
It was Valentine's Day, Jeremy.
I've never seen it. I was just wondering.
Listen, some of us had dates. Okay, so anyway,
that's fair enough. Fair enough.
Up here, we have the glue to our podcast. Melanin Mike Asiffo, Joseph Kony impersonator. Melanin Mike, say hi to the people.
I'm the glue. I thought it was like a passenger. You guys do everything, and I just like sit back. Can I eat my pancakes now?
No, Mike, you can't eat your pancakes. Jesus, it's like, first of all, you know what you can do before you eat your pancakes? You can clean your damn couch. How about that?
Why? Yeah, man, Mike, you set the time. You know, you put the camera in that angle, so you know, like.
I'll be honest.
I think this is on purpose.
I'll be honest. I really thought Stefano was gonna come at some obscenely late time, so I thought I had time to do everything.
I'm ready. I got a pretty little Christmas tree background. I got my bookshelf. Mike, you're disorganized. No,
I'm so proud of you. I am.
I don't want to hear your. Listen. I don't want to hear your excuses. I just want you to be better. Okay. And then finally, we have the Nigerian Dream himself, not the Nigerian Nightmare, the Nigerian Dream, David Agbaire.
What it do? Welcome.
David, I have to ask. Your camera is surprisingly not yellow. What happened?
So the yellow camera has been misplaced. So we're back to the old school traditional camera. I'll be yellow next week. Don't worry about it. Temporary.
Well, racial surgeries aside, changing your race to Asian, I am the final member of this team.
Final member.
Stefano.
W. Hosko, and the W stands for whites.
I am the diversity hire on this podcast. Honestly, Mike just called up. Yeah, Mike just called up some kind of one of these employment agencies. He's like, "Hey, can you give me someone white? We don't want to look like a bunch of hoteps over here. You know, just give me a Caucasian." And I'm like, podcast, what's that? MMA? Never heard of it. But here I am, incredibly underqualified. I just get the job because diversity. So I guess I can be thankful for that. So
Michael,
we are the Leg Kick.
Question. Is it two is it too early or too late to ask for a refund? Can we get like another Weitz?
Listen. I am an indentured servant with a contract of 99 years. So,
Oh God. Somewhere there's a historical reference.
I know. Trust Stefano to make it weird.
It was in the state of Texas where they didn't allow slavery once it became a part of the union. They're like, oh, these aren't slaves. These are indentured servants on a contract of 99 years. So there you go. A little bit of history trivia for you. Anyways.
That was the thing, right? Ah, damn.
Way to make it awkward. Anyways, so.
I thought this was a sports podcast.
Yeah, we are the Leg Kick. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on where you can find podcasts. But if you're listening to this, you already know that. So I don't know why I'm telling you this. Tell your friend about it. Subscribe, like, share it around. Go into the fridge, find the maple syrup, rub it on your chest, take a photo of it, and send it to Mike. And anyways, you guys want to get into some news?
Wait, and you can win a prize. Sorry. Just wanted to finish that.
Oh yeah, if you do that, Mike will come over to your house and he will lick the maple syrup off. That's your prize.
Yes.
Did you guys get any participants in the dick pic challenge?
Yes, we were flooded with dick pics actually. Thank you for your submissions. The Leg Kick audience.
Are they gonna get a prize?
You have some beautiful penises. David will perform. David will perform.
Are they gonna get a prize?
Well, David will perform fellatio on the 64th guest to send in a dick pic.
He's been practicing on is that so far we've had about 100, and I think 99 of them were from Jeremy Asiffo. So I don't know. Like it's gonna be tough to pick a winner, but
because I needed 99 pictures to get the whole thing.
Oh! You know, I would have sent a dick pic for the challenge, but my phone doesn't shoot in IMAX.
Okay. So much for Family Day, right?
Jesus. All right. Are we done with the fan service part of the podcast, John?
Oh, David will service the fans. Have no. Anyways, let's get into some news and views.
All right. Boxing news first, or do we want to just like save that before?
Let's get it out of the way. Jeremy,
I'll run through it real quick. I'll run through it super quick. Yesterday, of course, my boy. First of all, I went on Uber Eats and I ordered Dave a crow sandwich because he got to take back all the trash he was talking about Ghanaian.
Jeremy,
wait, do Ghanaians actually eat crow?
Jeremy.
And I'm not ashamed.
Do Ghanaians actually eat crow, like the actual bird?
Yeah, he had to eat crow.
Oh, that's it. Oh, I thought Ghanaians actually ate the bird crow. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe we do. I'm not too in touch with my roots too much. But on this night I was. Last night I was when he TKO'd Jackson Marinas in the 6th round. It was spectacular. And this is his first fight back in a year and some change after Teofimo Lopez knocked him out on his route to Lomachenko. So I was just really proud of my countrymen for that. And he didn't lose a step. He showed the same kind of power that he had to obtain the IBF championship before ultimately losing it. But his power didn't go anywhere. His confidence didn't go anywhere. He was just as strong. It was great to see. Also, there was an upset that took place in London. Josh Warrington, who is the featherweight, who had the IBF featherweight title, he lost it to Mauricio Lara. That was an upset. Good fight. Go watch that. I checked out the highlights.
Stop eating pancakes.
Jojo Diaz, who beat Michael's favorite fighter, or one of Michael's favorite fighters, Tevin Farmer, about a year ago. He returned to the ring yesterday to take on a Russian, and this Russian kid can't pronounce his first name, last name Rakimov.
No, I'm kidding.
He looked good. He came into the bout 15-0, and he definitely deserved to be there. He looked good. The match ended in a draw, so nobody took home the which belt was it for?
I think it was IBF.
Was it the IBF?
I think it was the IBF.
But yeah, it was just a lot of good fights, a lot of good boxing fights last night, and I was very pleased with the highlight of them all. Richard Comey, David Usock.
Beautiful.
God bless the homeland.
God, and make our nation
brave. Your anthem sounds compared to the Nigerian one. I'll just say this, okay? You bring me 10 Ghanaians, and I'll bring 2 Nigerians, and my money's on the Nigerians.
You know what? I'm actually with David on that because, Kamaru Usman and Israel Adesanya, and that's all I need. So while these guys are celebrating their, middle of the card boxers who are making 400 and 400, these Jeremy and Mike are out here on an amateur show last night, regional amateur show out in some town no one's ever heard of outside of capital of Ghana. Ghanaian boxer actually beat another Ghanaian boxer. So in other news, we're getting into the news segment of the show. Now, we didn't talk about the Bellator tournament, did we, on air? No, we didn't.
Okay, that was supposed to be Friday.
Sorry, Mike, go on. What were you saying?
No, I was going to say that was supposed to be Friday, but then some time constraints on my end, my fault. Screwed us up from talking about it. But
Bellator managed to do something interesting for once. So they're putting on a light heavyweight tournament with, some fights better than others, but I am thoroughly when they announced the first matchup of this. David, Jeremy, have you heard of this yet?
No.
Okay, we're gonna get Jeremy's live reaction.
Yes, I have, and it's also something we suspected would happen. When we started making a lot of these pickups of UFC guys like Corey Anderson and Yoel Romero, right?
We suspected Bellator to pull out the full, glitz and glamour and, show off their new toys that they've acquired. And I'll tell you, this is a lot better than the heavyweight tournament they put on. This is a lot better than that. The heavyweight tournament was like, all right, what are you a middleweight? Okay, all right. Come here. We got a bowl of pasta and we've got we've got some tray and a ball. Okay, all right, you're
Don't do that. We had some legends on that heavyweight tournament.
Yeah, like heavyweight Chael Sonnen, heavyweight Ryan Bader. Who else? Who are some other heavyweights in that tournament? There's like 2 heavyweights in the tournament.
Rampage? Come on, don't do that.
Rampage is not a heavyweight.
Yeah.
And
Did you see how Rampage looked? Did you see how Rampage looked?
Did you see Rampage losing to Chael Sonnen in that tournament? Yeah, that's what I thought. Getting outboxed by Chael Sonnen, outboxed on the feet. All right. Anyways, so
I'm not doing this with you, Stefano. That's too funny.
I love Rampage. Rampage was like one of my favorite fighters growing up
in 2005.
Exactly. And to see him be a shell of his former self to Chael P. Sonnen, and the P stands for out.
He stands for past his prime. Anyways, how about Bellator just goes to the graveyard and digs up my grandmother and makes her fight in the ring? Do you want to? How many more of these sentimental beloved figures do you want to force to fight? Anyways, let's go through the tournament here because it's actually pretty compelling, and I commend Scott Coker and Bellator for putting this on. In the opening fight, we have, and you might as well lead with your strongest, on April 16th, we've got Yoel Romero versus Anthony Humble Johnson. Oh, my Lord. Not a type 1 muscle fiber to be found.
Hey, I love this fight.
Not a type 1 muscle fiber in sight, Jeremy.
Who is? What was the second guy's name?
Yeah, I know. Mike was annoyingly singing in the background.
Yeah,
so Anthony Rumble Johnson and Yoel Romero.
Who is Anthony Johnson?
Oh, shut the fuck up, Jeremy. Anthony Johnson.
I have no clue.
Anthony Johnson was a UFC light heavyweight that was possibly one of the most feared fighters in the division of all time. He knocked out Alexander Gustafsson. He knocked out Glover Teixeira. He just would starch everyone inside of a round. He'd he had this very square kind of Muay Thai stance, very sprawl and brawl fighter, and he was just a juggernaut. And eventually, he never fought John Jones because Jones was suspended for a lot of the time when he was at the top. But his only losses, I believe, were twice to DC. And DC had to go through hell and back in order to win those fights. Like, Johnson battered him for a portion of the first round, and then as soon as DC was able to get his wrestling going, put him through the grind cycle, he was able to tap him out. But he's just a very, very scary force to behold.
And now he's big.
He heavy hands.
What's
a lot
that?
of people say he might be. I was going to say that he's a wrestler with heavy hands, and a lot of people say he might be one of the only people to rival Francis Ngannou for power, in terms of just like pure knockout power that we've seen in the UFC.
So I've actually met Rumble a couple of times. I don't know if you know that.
Oh yeah, you do have a couple of Rumble stories, right?
Yeah, do you guys have I told these on air before?
I think so, but like if you want to say them again, why not?
For the new fans. So I'm with my boy Max, and we're training at this gym that we used to train at in Woodbridge, Max Lee. We'll have to have him on sometime. One of the best jiu-jitsu guys in Toronto, just, other than me, of course. But
you had to fit that one in there, did you?
Max is a scumbag. Max is a scumbag. He's a cockroach. You're a cockroach. Anyways, that's actually his nickname, is the cockroach. So we're training late at night, as we usually do. I'd finish teaching classes and we'd stick around late, like super late, 10, 11, whenever, 12 sometimes, and just roll for hours. And I look over and I just see this shadow walking into the bathroom. The bathroom's right next to the mats, like just this aura of darkness walking in. And I don't mean that in a racist way. I mean literally something blocked out the sun.
Half time. I gotta call racist on that description.
No. I mean something.
Shadow, but that aura of darkness.
I mean something blocked out the sun, David.
Okay.
And I'm like, what the fuck was that? What was that? And how do I run from it? And then one of the coaches there at the time comes out. He's like, "Hey Max, I will give you $1,000. I will bet you $1,000 you can't top whoever walks out of that washroom." And Max is like, "Bro," he talks like this, "Bro, deal. Who is it?" And out of the washroom walks Anthony Rumble Johnson. Basically, he was one of our coaches at the time, went down to, it's now Sanford MMA, used to be called the Black Zillions, and trained there. And when Anthony was up here, he would hit pads with that coach at the time. So Anthony freaking Johnson walks out of the washroom. Max is like, "No, never mind. I take it back now." So I had the pleasure of, I had a brief conversation with him. He was cutting weight for the DC fight, so he was nice, but like I didn't want to bother him too much. He was hitting pads, and I swear to God, I've never heard a sound like this other than when I've heard like a gun fired. Like, it sounded like a gunshot when he hit the pads. It sounded like lightning was striking. It was a deafening sound. It was terrifying. I'm like, how does anyone sustain that and, not have to be hospitalized for the next 10 months of their life? And then a little while later, I went to an autograph signing. This is the second time that I saw him with one of my friends. And I'm like, "Hey, Anthony, I remember you from, blah, 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 from, Evan when you were at this gym." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I remember you." And then so he signed something for me. He's like, "What's your name?" And I tell him my name. And then he asked my friend's name. He's like, "Oh, what's your name?" His name's Roman. He's like, he looks at us and he's like, "Man, y'all need some normal shit." I'm like, "Oh, thank you, Anthony Johnson." Most normal name ever. So after that 15-minute diversion, we'll get into the rest of the tournament, I suppose.
That was a racially charged diversion too.
This dark figure.
Well, I did watch Gone with the Wind last night.
His blacker than black silhouette.
Yeah, his dark force. I could just feel the beast just coming through.
I felt like I was back. I felt like I was back home at one of those minstrel shows that I used to go to.
Yeah, like, oh, there was gunshots and fire and drugs. Like, whoa, man.
And someone started screaming something about child support.
Exactly. Like child soldiers. Like, what? Anyway, sorry.
Oh,
Back
Lord.
to Bellator tournaments.
No, but like, yo, honestly though, I gotta say though, I am so excited for this fight. And Bellator, man, when they get the pieces though, they do good work. It's just sometimes
Sometimes they're very guilty of putting on less than savory matchups where
Yeah.
you're like, come on, you know this is put together to produce a flying knee knockout so they can post it all over Instagram. But this is actually, it's savory. It's supple, it's savory, it's sensuous, it's succulent, and I want to tune in to watch the Bellator tournament. The other matchups, there's some other.
Just really quickly on that fight. What do you guys think about Anthony Johnson coming back down to light heavyweight? Because, I think it was a year ago he was bodybuilding and looking like, what, 250 or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was talking about making a UFC comeback, so apparently that's not happening. But he's still going to be cutting a lot of weight to get back down to 225 or 205, really.
I wouldn't have minded him in the UFC either, especially now that there's no John Jones. First of all, the light heavyweight division wide open. I think Johnson can beat Blachowicz. I think he can beat. I think there's a chance of him beating the top end of the heavyweight division as well, like your Stipe's, your Francis's. I think he has a much lower chance of beating those guys, but hey, it's possible. Bellator honestly must have just offered him more money. That's my thinking.
What's Anthony Johnson's signature punch?
Signature punch? Well, he throws kind of like he's got a very kind of like cross hook low kick kind of style, right? Like
real quick, what's the one that Romero should watch out for?
Romero, being a southpaw, I think would probably have to watch out for the body kick, right? Would be one of the more significant things coming his way. The body kick and the straight right down the pipe.
I don't think Rumble Johnson's really going to go too kick heavy. I would imagine against Romero, just because Romero, like the takedown's always there. So that would be a very risky move. And also Johnson, I know he has like a background in wrestling. If I'm not mistaken, he's a Division I wrestler. I might be making that up. But he also has a good background in wrestling as well. But
Romero.
I don't know.
I don't know.
He's no Romero, as you said,
Well, to be honest, I kind of like him kicking in this matchup, and that may sound counterintuitive, but if you look at the way he uses his takedowns, he's not a super grindy fighter. It's not like you're going to get caught in a grind cycle. He kind of uses them like he uses his strikes as explosive punctuations on a round, right? I like Johnson's chances of getting in Romero's face and making him work, and I honestly think he has the durability to push a pace on Romero. Force him to work, exhaust him, because, as we'll talk about in the Vieira fight, when you're...
Sorry.
Go on.
I'm sorry to jump in, but we're judging Romero on what we've seen at 185. This is going to be 205 Romero. So
that's
some
true.
Of the, cardio issues that we've seen in the past, and, the question is, will he be as disciplined with his diet? Not that he's ever out of shape or anything, but will he gas out the same at 205 as he sometimes does at 185 or 205?
To be honest, I don't think I've ever seen Romero gas out. I'd like to question that. We've seen him be inactive for long periods of time, but I don't think I've ever seen Romero gas out. Even in the Paulo Costa fight where he was in a firefight, the man was swinging and even won the third round, right? So I think there's
I was going to say, just to add in, even the first Whitaker fight, a lot of people say he gassed out. I just think Whitaker figured him out in the fifth, to be honest.
Yeah.
And Romero had no answer. Which, I mean, it's a testament to how good Whitaker is.
Yeah, I don't think cardio is necessarily an issue for him. I would even go in the reverse direction of, now that Romero isn't cutting insane amounts of weight, like on that scale at 185, the man looks like he's on death's door, to be honest with you. So I think not having to cut that weight might actually benefit him. And I watched a couple of interviews, and he was asked, like, are you going to hit the weight roon? Are you going to be? And he said, No.
Is Romero going to hit the weight room?
You know what I mean? Like pack on extra muscle to compensate for the new weight class change. And basically what he said was, I don't want to lose my speed and power at this weight class. I don't want to become a slowed down version of myself. So to me, that kind of hints that I think he's looking to stay light, looking to be the faster man in the division.
Oh, real quick.
Which is hilarious at 40 years old.
Right? The 40-year-old has an athletic advantage over everyone. Sorry, Mike, do you mind if I rattle through the rest of this tournament really quickly?
Yeah, I was just going to put a real quick thing. One of my dear friend Giancarlo Lino actually got to interview Yoel Romero during that scrum.
That's a dream.
Yeah, he's a Bellator kind of insider. So whenever I talk Bellator or any kind of videos, like for example that Valerie Laredo one I made, he's the guy, like the ear I pick. Czech Congo, he's the ear I picked. So real quick, simple plug, Giancarlo Lino, follow him. I'm not being sponsored by him or anything, but really look out for him. Great MMA journalist.
Dear friend of the podcast. The rest of this tournament, there's some interesting matchups. I'm more excited for a lot of these. We've got Phil Davis versus Vadim Nemkov. Vadim Nemkov, fresh off the knockout of Ryan Bader, looking like a very savvy striker at 205. That's going to be an interesting one. Then we have heavyweight champion, former light heavyweight champion. Nemkov, the current 205 champ, by the way. Bader versus Machida, a rematch of their 2011, 2012. Years ago, they had a fight, and Machida knocked him out. And then finally, we have Anderson versus Yagshimuradov, who I'm not familiar with, but Mike tells me good things.
Yeah, he's very kind of, imagine a Sam Alvey who's better on the ground. He likes to kind of hang back, but he has just sickening power, particularly in his left overhand. And he is very good at grappling and using grappling almost like a defensive measure. But don't get twisted though, when he does get you on the ground, he's got some very slick Sambo style submissions. So this guy, if you ever watched him in some of the Russian regional scene and now in Bellator, he's for real. He's a dark horse. I don't know necessarily if he's going to pull it off against Anderson, but Anderson's going to have a tough fight, especially since the style Anderson likes to employ does kind of play into Yagshimuradov's hands.
Just a quick one on this. Anderson's actually the underdog for that fight. So
interesting.
So people know this is not going to be a cakewalk for Anderson at all.
And if you don't know, now you know. So
now you know.
Let's try and rattle off some of these announcements because we've got a lot of announcements and news to get through before we actually break down our sensuous card that happened on the weekend. Big surprise. So we've got Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic booked for March 6th.
Good fight.
Good fight. Fireworks all around.
Bang.
Alexander Rakic is probably the most explosive white guy I know. So,
yeah. I don't know.
Fair enough.
That's a good one. I don't know.
I'll have to think about that.
Prochaska? Wait, what's that? Yuri
Prohaska is more of like a weird, like unorthodox style. So he creeps up on you. But I'm talking like pure athlete. Like if you put Alexander Rakic in a combine, I really think he'd turn a lot of heads.
Brock Lesnar.
Okay, yeah,
Brockner. Okay, all right. So, anyways, Pitbull versus Patricio Pitbull versus Emmanuel Sanchez, number 2.
Oh, that's coming up too. That's like in April. That's
another fun little Bellator fight. And then we have at 135, Juan Archuleta versus Sergio Pettis.
Yeah, I haven't loved Archuleta's fights recently, honestly. I don't know if his fight style is for me, but it'll be an interesting one against Sergio Pettis. He doesn't really have boring fights.
It's interesting because I thought Horiguchi was the champion there, but I think Horiguchi had to relinquish it due to health issues. He beat Darian Caldwell, so that'll be a fun one. And then this one's more a rumor, but I think it bears mentioning.
Is it Covington versus Edwards?
No, this is the fact that John Jones will most likely face the winner of Stipe versus Francis.
Hey.
So, I'm of the opinion I like somebody getting a kind of test their feet in the waters fight before they go up and fight for the title. I'm usually a big fan of that, but hey, what do I know?
This one is completely.
I hope they can make that one happen.
No, it's deserved, but, look at the Max Holloway incident, for example, where if Max would have jumped ahead, then we really would not have understood how good Dustin Poirier is, right? So,
Yeah, and then we have, this is a fun little fight. Jai Herbert dropping out of his fight with Drakkar Klose. We have Drakkar Klose versus Violent Bob Ross now booked for February 20th.
Yeah, that's a banger. That's a fun fight.
Violent Bob Ross is just one of those dudes. I feel like if he gets like 4 or 5 wins in a row, like he's got to be up for a title because his style is super entertaining. He's super diverse. Like he's good on the feet, on the ground. I just feel like he makes a lot of silly mistakes in fights, which is what like makes him lose.
But that's-
He's a tall guy with a dangerous guard who doesn't give a shit about wrestling, and I love it. I love his flying knee that he just recklessly throws, where he throws out that left cross into that step up knee. Beautiful, so smooth.
No, but like, yeah, it's a blessing and a curse with him, right? He's irresponsible, but he's irresponsible. Like, if you guys get what I'm trying to say.
Next, we have Stefan Struve has officially retired. I feel like he's done this before, but, you know, good on him. I think it's about time. Thank you for a great career, Mr. Struve. In my view, never really fulfilled his potential, but nonetheless, I'm happy
guy to
he's
beat
calling
Stipe.
it quits. What's that?
Last guy to beat Stipe, so.
That's true. That's true. Finally, let's try and get through these very quickly. Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Crute. Signed. So, Johnny Walker out of his fight with Jimmy Crute. I think he has a shoulder injury.
Oh, again?
Yeah.
His shoulder's bothering him.
It better not be because of that worm he tried to pull that time, and it's like a reoccurring thing since then.
It is. It is.
I feel like there were some other pieces of news I wanted to talk about that I can't remember at this point. You guys have anything?
Colby versus Leon is seriously in the works for March 13th.
That's a fun one.
And it makes sense that the winner of that is going to fight for the title next.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, at this point, I know Usman really wants Masvidal, but like.
It just doesn't make sense. That fight doesn't make sense. Masvidal has to be either like a Covington or an Edwards. Like, both of those guys want to fight Masvidal as well. So, it just doesn't make sense for him to already have the title shot, lose, and not even like in a close manner, and then get another title shot before any of those other dudes.
It's interesting because I've also heard rumored that the UFC wants Masvidal versus Covington for the Ultimate Fighter.
Oh yeah, because they're making.
So that would be interesting as well. I'm with David here. I'm of two minds with this because I don't think that Masvidal really deserves a title shot right now, even though it's a big money fight that'll get some money in both of their pockets, which I'm always a fan of. At the same time, while Leon Edwards seems deserving, I don't like throwing him in a title shot after such inactivity. I think for Leon Edwards' sake, he deserves a fight or two in between then. Mm-hmm. Right? Because Usman, for a champion, has been keeping a fairly active schedule. Leon Edwards, by no, design of his own, has been out for a while. And to throw him straight into a title shot, plus they've done him dirty and removed him from the top 15. Like, come on.
He's back in. He's back in.
He's back in, but is he not back in? Because I remember him.
I checked 2 days ago. He's not in.
Dana White was saying yesterday, like, fighting Chimaev would have been a step downwards. I think he was saying like he ranks him like third or so. He might have been talking about somebody else, but I think he's back in. Like, even if, no matter what the rankings say, there's no doubt like he's a top 5 welterweight in the UFC right now. So I don't know. I think like all he has to do is just get another fight, and he's right there for the title shot. What's interesting though is that his one loss in the UFC has come against Kamaru. So I'm with Stefano. Like, it would behoove him to get 1, maybe even 2 fights before he steps into that ring again, because you don't want to be having ring rust against Kamaru.
Ooh, and side plot, Wonder Boy really wants an Edwards fight. Boy.
That's a bad fight. I don't want to see that.
I think it's a bad fight. Anytime anyone gets booked to fight Wonder Boy, I'm just like, oh God, no. They're going to kill off another contender. Shit. Like, I want to see Wonder Boy, and I'm a sucker for Wonder Boy. I think he's a square-jawed, corn-fed American hero. I want to see him in a title fight. I really do, because I think time's ticking for him. Time's ticking, and I think he has the style to beat Usman. Does he have the style to beat this version of Usman? I don't know, because Usman's looking.
I'd love to say I like Whitman Usman a lot.
Honestly,
I do, and we'll get into that. But
we'll get into that. But I really rate Wonder Boy. I think he does well against most fighters in the division, but against Usman, like I just don't think that's a good matchup for him.
I think honestly, previous Usman, I was very sold on because previous Usman, not the greatest ring cutter, largely used his punches to secure clinches and was dangerous from there. Like I have nothing against that sort of style, but I thought that he'd end up chasing
Wonder Boy
around the ring. Yeah. But honestly, with this new, more sophisticated striker, time will tell. I'd still like to see it.
I think it's cute how you guys are hyping up these guys, but the only match that really sounds intriguing to me is a Covington Usman rematch. All these other guys, I'm hearing you guys say that these other guys aren't ready yet to just step into title fights. Then if they're not ready, give me Kobe Covington and Usman next.
I'm not mad at that.
I'm not mad at it, but my problem with it is that like
Covington coming off a win against former champ Tyron
coming off a win, and some people say he was winning that fight against Usman.
So, I think I had him winning that fight as well.
Yeah, truth be told, I had it a tie going in. I had it 2-2. But look, okay, here's my problem with having Covington as it is that at some point you need to have some new blood in there, or else the division starts to get stagnant. Because Leon Edwards has won 8 straight. Wonder Boy is like killing people left, right, and center, aside from the Pettis hiccup. And
sorry to interrupt, but how is Wonder Boy new meat? Like, how is that fresh meat in the division?
No, but like he's meat that you put in the freezer for a while. He's meat that you put in the freezer for a while, and you're like, hey, I didn't know I still had this. You know?
No, but like my point is that like you can't have this
fresh frozen. I get it.
No, but my point is you can't have this 3-way square dance between Usman, Covington, and sometimes Masvidal. Like you need to get some other guys in there in order to maintain the relativity of the division. So. Relevancy of the division. So I think that, like, look, if Edwards has won 8 straight, I'm definitely with you guys. Not right away, but get him into a title picture, right? Especially since he could do wonders for the English market. Wonder Boy.
The English market, love.
The English market.
How about we go to Piccadilly Circus and have us a few pints of ale on the English market? Sorry, go on.
Have us a right punch up.
Right punch up. David, how is my British accent better than
Not bad. Very posh, but not
I
bad.
could go for one of these, love.
Yeah.
They call me Gus the Chimney Sweep, love.
Why do you have to make that face when you do that?
How about we have a pint of ale? Because I'm getting in character. Anyways,
I like it.
Let's look at the division. Let's look at the division right now and see who's. And I think the problem is a lot of these fights, we've either seen them or we know how they're going to go. So it's hard to get excited for a lot of these matchups. Number 1, we have Gilbert Burns, and
we saw it.
We just saw that. Let's give him a breather. Then number 2, Kobe Covington. There's potential there for a second shot.
I like
number
it a lot.
Number 3, you guys are correct. Edwards back in title contention, and I'd love to see him in a fight, but I think he needs at least a warm-up fight first. Number 4, Jorge Masvidal. I don't think any of us are particularly excited to see that, given the stylistic limitations of the fight. Only people with 3 brain cells want to see that fight again.
There's only 2 people or 3 people who want that fight. Masvidal, Dana White, and Usman for some reason. Everybody else is
because Usman wants to get paid.
Yeah, I say the casual, but like everyone else is like, I'm cool.
And then number 5, we have Stephen Thompson, who I'm personally excited to see in there. But realistically, do I think it's going to happen? I think he'll need one more fight before Dana White's going to consider him a legitimate opposition for the title. But I'd like to see that. Number 6 is Michael Chiesa. And while I like Michael Chiesa, I'm not particularly excited for an Usman Chiesa fight. I think we know how that's going to go. I think we know who's the more well-rounded mixed martial artist. Yeah. Chiesa, I like what he's been able to do with his wrestling. I don't see him, especially after that Neil Magny fight, being a particular danger to Usman anywhere, and that's what kind of gives me pause. 7, Tyron Woodley. 8, Damian Maia. 9, Neil Magny. 10, Vicente Luque.
I don't mind a Luque versus Usman fight because Luque's durable.
But I don't either. But again, not ready yet, right?
Yeah,
and then anyone down from Luque is just
no
people
way.
on the way up or people on the way down, like Jeff Neal, Li Jingliang, Bilal Muhammad, Robbie Lawler comes at like I don't, good fighters, but
Why?
Kamayev
Sorry, David. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I keep cutting you off.
No. I was just gonna say Kamayev might be like a couple fights away, realistically. Like if he fought Edwards, beat Edwards, and then fought like a Masvidal or Covington and beat one of those guys, like he's gonna get the next title shot.
Hold on. How are we talking about Chimaev getting a title shot when two of his wins are from against guys that aren't even in the UFC?
But it's
no.
It's
I'm not
based on the hype alone.
You're like, well, if after beating 3 softballs, Chimaev can potentially beat 2 top 10 contenders, like let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm excited for Chimaev too, but
at the same time though, Stefano, he was literally about to like headline in his 3rd fight, so you can't say like a title shot is that far away. If you're headlining like in your 3rd fight, like you're on the road to stardom. Like,
I could see both sides of it, where it's like, okay, Habib was Habib, right, and was dominating, and we see a guy who does similar things, and we are like losing our minds. We're like, oh my God, Habib 2.0. In a weird way, it's kind of like the Wiggins versus Bryant effect, where it's like, okay, when Andrew Wiggins was doing a lot of things that Kobe Bryant was doing, we're like, oh, next big thing, and then it turned out not a big thing. So I can see Stefano's point of let's just see what he can do first.
I'm not a hater. I'm just a skeptic. Let's take our time because I've seen a lot of people have meteoric rises through the division. Like even Conor McGregor, for how much of a hype train he had, 3 fights into the UFC, people weren't talking about main events and headlines and title shots just yet. So let's take our time. I think Kamayev deserves the Bellator treatment. Give him the Bellator treatment. Give him a few more, not softballs, but give him some middle of the road fighters. The fact that he's ranked 15th right now to me is insane.
Well, I think, but here's the thing though. If we really have to be honest with ourselves, he should be a top 15 fighter.
Like, what am I saying? Like,
Shut up, Mike.
He smoked those dudes he was fighting. The reason he's ranked so high, it wasn't close. Like,
David,
I don't know.
Yeah, but David, come on. Sure, it wasn't close, but the quality of opposition matters as well. 2 of those guys were known, to not have to be, first of all, stylistically perfect matchups for him, and 2, honestly, not to be that good. Like his last 2 opponents were not great, and quality of opposition. If I get 2 homeless gentlemen off the streets and beat them both,
give him Edwards, then what do you think is a proper test to see whether he's a serious contender at this stage of his?
Nico, give him a Nico price. I'm looking at the rankings right now. Like, why are we not considering people like, I'm looking at the rankings, number 19, Muslim Salikov. He's on a 4-fight win streak. Incredibly exciting style. The king of Sanda. What else? Give him a Gunnar Nelson. I'd like to see a Gunnar Nelson. Jake Matthews. These are some names. Tim Means. Come on.
Tim Means isn't bad.
Come on, Jake Matthews. Come on, man.
Jake Matthews is a talented fighter, and he's on a 3-fight win streak. Which is the same, credentials. Randy Brown. I'm looking at the division. These are fun fights. You could make a co-main event out of these.
I like Randy Brown, but
if you wanted to get really crazy, and throw Khamzat into title contention, you know what you do? Nate Diaz sitting at 23.
Nate Diaz is not fighting anyone for any kind of meaningful fight ever.
I know he's not. But in a vacuum, this is the perfect fight to make, I think, Nate Diaz versus Khamzat. Come on. Think about it.
I like that. I'm not.
There's
no.
Like Nate Diaz isn't getting anywhere close to a title, but he can run off his mouth, put out some annoying half-baked gibberish on Twitter. Khamzat can, in broken English, talk shit back to him, and we'll probably have a pretty decent fight at the end of it.
Why is it? I need to understand this. Why is it that broken English guys like
it's just so much better.
Chimaev and Habib do better at resonating with fans than guys like Edwards, Alexander Hernandez?
If you're too soft-spoken, we don't understand, man. Like, I like because their message is very clear when you're that direct.
Khabib's a witty guy too. Like I remember at one press conference, he was talking, him and Tony Ferguson were trash talking, and Tony Ferguson goes on this long, unhinged rant that's barely comprehensible, and then Khabib just like, I think you're a stupid guy. I think you're not very smart.
Yeah.
I will never forget that Tony Ferguson
He
versus
is
Khabib
just stupid guy.
press conference was like the stuff of legend. Like Khabib really like made Tony Ferguson look like unhinged in that. Yeah.
You know what annoys me though? Every conversation we have about welterweight is always 3 degrees of separation away from Khamzat Chimaev. Like,
It's true.
Come on.
All right. Okay,
anyways.
guys, we have some real fights to talk about. Is there any more announcements?
Have a supple and juicy card to talk about.
Yeah,
It's gonna
we're
be
down
fun.
a rabbit hole of Chimaev, which is
Let's
hilarious.
give him something to talk about. You guys ready?
Talk about love.
Okay, I guess on the topic, we had a great fight, great night of fights in UFC 258,
Yeah.
Usman versus Burns. On the topic of the welterweight division, we have in the main event Usman versus Gilbert Burns. Usman wins by a TKO jab and ground and pound in 34 seconds into round 3. My thoughts are gonna be. I have like a whole rant saved up, so I'm gonna let you guys go in.
So
what do you guys-
can I go ahead, Mike?
No, I was gonna say I remember that first round when Usman gets stunned, right? And it was clearly a Burns round. And I was like, and a friend of mine messaged me, and he's a huge Usman fan. He was my barber in North Bay, and he goes, "Oh man, I'm not gonna lie, this Gilbert Burns man," and he didn't use the word man. He used the, you know what word he used, right?
What word did he use, Mike?
The N word.
Jigga.
Right? He's like, yo, this guy's scaring me, right? He's scaring me. And I went, but boy, Burns is having a hard time picking up on that jab, and it's knocking him back. So it was weird. Like, I very rarely get these things right. So I'm gonna take this one and be like, hey, the jab worked.
The jab worked. The jab was a huge key to success. And I mean, early on, the jab seemed to get Kamaru Usman in trouble because he was just kind of throwing it out there with the intention to hurt every time as opposed to mixing up the rhythm of it. And Gilbert Burns landed that cross counter and knocked Usman on his ass. Oh my God. And Gilbert Burns is one of the best cross counters in the game right now. Sometimes he'll follow it up with that left body kick. He looked great. He was punishing Usman for the jab every time with either the cross counter or he was knocking his lead leg out of his stance. And man, Usman showed a hell of a chin and veteran savvy to get through that first round. Like, one of the most intelligent things he did in that first round is after Gilbert slipped after trying to throw that step up left high kick, which he's famous for, he's like, I'm going to keep this right here. And take all the time I need to recover. And you know what? Kick that hamstring, kick that quad, took his time.
The body punch too. The body punch too.
Kick the gooch.
He did kick.
Those straight kicks like through the guard. Like what was that? Is that even legal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, if you don't complain about a nut shot. And he was landing the body punch too was quite nice as well, mixing it up.
That was weird.
No, I liked it a lot because
a good thing
because he was aiming right in the solar plex.
Yeah.
And when you're downward into the solar plex, especially when you're not breathing because you're laying down, it hurts. I'm gonna tell you right now, it hurts.
And the good thing about that too is you can arc it like you're going to the head, and then last minute change the trajectory to the body, and really surprise him because everyone's expecting to get hit in the head there. No one's expecting to get hit in the body. And then. Usman coming out with adjustments even late in the first where switching stances, right?
I like that a lot.
That was nice.
Yeah,
landing the jab out of southpaw as well, and he was mixing up the timing of his jab as well. He was throwing out that GSP style shoulder fake, that bum bum, right? Every time. Shoulder fake, wait for a second, then throw the jab out there. And that jab, once it started coming out there, started ruining Gilbert Burns' night. And when I knew the downfall was coming was when Gilbert Burns, at first he would be able to sort of get the timing on the jab and defend it. He was parrying, but he wasn't making Usman pay. And then it just started getting through more and more and more. And the southpaw stance threw off the kicks of Gilbert Burns as well. And then Usman just hurt him with that jab on multiple occasions, put him down, and then was smart and disciplined, didn't follow him into the guard.
See, I will say, because Burns was having a hard time picking up on that jab, he was trying to time the jab so much that he kind of tunnel visioned himself from the overhand right that did put him down the first time in that second round, right? So not only was it just like a great weapon for Usman, but Burns, his jab recognition was off. But it's not because, like, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, Burns did something wrong. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, before we even get into that, because I do agree, like the jab is literally what won Usman this fight. Key to that, I think, was the fact that he had like what, a 5-inch reach advantage or something like that. He had like a 77-inch, and Burns is like what, 71 or 72, something like that.
Yeah, Usman's got some long arms.
Crazy, and he's also taller than Burns too. So once you can fight behind, I mean, just game plan once again, and we'll talk about basics at the highest level, which is why I feel like Usman won. But even in the beginning of the fight, I think Burns did a really good job in terms of crowding Usman, walking him down, which a lot of people can't say that they can do. His leg kicks, as you said, Stefano, were really good. And I feel like he gave Usman a lot of problems that a lot of other fighters don't do. And if you ask me who has like the striking who has the striking advantage, I'd say it's pretty even. But one thing
very different styles of stand up. But
one thing about Burns that I noticed though, his hands are lightning quick, man. Like they're so fast. Like that overhand right hit like Usman before he'd even landed the jab, because like it was so quick. And you can tell he hits hard because Usman fell in a way that he didn't fall in like a lot of his other fights. Like he actually fell, and this is a guy who's coming up from like lightweight.
Isn't that like such a testament to how little power Colby Covington has? Because Colby couldn't like even shake Usman like a little bit. Like
Colby not known as a power hitter.
It could be
he's not known as a power hitter.
Or it could be Usman's chin. Not only was it the jab that saved Usman, it was also his chin. I felt like he was able to hang in there because Burns connected more often, and he was the more quicker puncher. However, I found that Usman was the more skilled striker because he knew how to walk the ring in a way where he threw off the timing.
Yeah, the cage generalship.
To be honest,
of Burns' counters, absolutely through those fakes, which he was a little bit late to apply, but once he got them going, they were.
Thing of beauty. Another thing, man, as you said, Burns did a great job of like cage cutting in the first round in a way that a lot of people don't do against Usman. That's usually what Usman does, is kind of push you to the cage. But yeah, man, as soon as Usman started timing him, and as soon as basically he could slow the fight down, because that's something I noticed as well. Burns came out like 100 miles per hour. Almost
slow the fight down. Excellent point. Yeah.
And I feel like Usman did a good job of like slowing the fight down, getting the other dude tired, and he's like, okay, now I'm just gonna beat you with like the fundamentals, which is exactly what he did. What else happened in that first round? That was so crazy.
Oh well, one thing,
sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, one thing I noticed is that like even though Burns did a couple times beat him with the looping shots, the straight shots, I've always said principle number one of striking is straight shots beat looping shots when they're thrown at the same time. So even though Burns was much faster, and a couple times he actually kind of defied the laws of physics and beat Usman to the punch, Usman stayed committed. And I think it's a credit. Like, I know a lot of people, like, sometimes unjustifiably pray at the altar of Trevor Whitman, but Trevor Whitman kept it in him to just keep jabbing.
Yeah, another thing. Sorry, I was going to say another thing that I loved that Usman started doing, which I think Stefano touched on. Ben, the jab feints were giving Burns problems. By that second round, like, man, he didn't know whether a takedown, whether a jab cross was coming down. He didn't know what was coming, because each time Usman would just like fake the jab, and then at some point he would literally like reach down and touch his knee and then come back up, and Burns was kind of like, what just happened? Because, man, the jab was so effective that Burns just started to second guess himself because he just didn't know what was coming. And that threw up his rhythm. And all she
And
wrote
Usman
after
got him walking onto those jabs a lot of times too, which and here's something that surprisingly a lot of people I don't hear them talking about. Can we give credit to Usman and Trevor Whitman for working on his ability to generate power in his shots now? Don't forget, this is the guy who everybody, and I'm guilty of this myself. I was saying I don't think Usman is a threat to finishing Gilbert Burns. And based on the previous evidence we'd seen, that wouldn't have been the most ridiculous thing to assume. Like, the Covington finish was remarkable, let's be honest, but
attrition.
Let's remember, this is a guy who went from dominating thoroughly the rounds of most fights without being able to hurt his opponent. Someone who, had people, Tyron Woodley pressed up against the clinch and was able to cause damage over time, but not really present much of a threat in the way of finishing him. Now he's sitting down on his shots. Now he's found ways to sit people down with a jab. People like Gilbert Burns, who got into a firefight with Tyron Woodley and was no worse for wear. Man, I'm thoroughly impressed. It takes the change between fights has been remarkable.
And it's not just that, and I agree. Like, he does seem like he's throwing with way more power, way better mechanics now in his punching.
Better mechanics. Before it was just pocket boxing to get into clinch, and now
like wild swinging, which he doesn't really do anymore.
Man, the jab too. Great. The jab too, piston like, no wind up.
Beautiful, no wind up. Beautiful. And also, just quickly, Trevor Whitman literally after the first round, which I think, some people would say it's marginal, but I think I could see how you could give that one to Burns. I would probably give it to Burns just because of the knockdown, but I mean, it's tough. Out of the not timeouts, but the break going into the second round, you could hear Whitman screaming at Usman like, "You're the champ because of your jab." So it's ironic that he literally just like focused on his jab and won the entire fight based on that feedback. So it shows
David, I don't think you really understand the meaning of the word irony.
I don't think
it's not ironic at all, actually.
I also wanted to say,
but it is impressive.
Credit to Usman, man. His striking seems to be getting better from fight to fight. Like, he's doing things that I literally didn't think was possible. Like compared to I remember the Woodley fight. I was like, man, Woodley can strike. Like, Usman can't strike. So like, I'm gonna go with Woodley. But like, from then on, like, he looks like a Muay Thai fighter right now. Like, he looks like he's been striking for like 10 years or something. Like, he's so seasoned and he makes such and he's not flashy in a way that other, like Adesanya, for example, with the feints. Like, he just keeps it super basic. Like, I'm longer than you, I'm gonna jab you, and it's gonna be a 1-2, a hook maybe if you come in, and that's it. Like, he's not gonna be.
The switch stances too. Even the switch stances, like, were they clean Taekwondo-like switch stances? No, but.
And that's my thing with the switch stances.
If they were Taekwondo-like switch stances, then they wouldn't have worked.
It wouldn't have worked. But the was saying, like, he's so crazy. So the switch stances almost seemed like a distraction tool, because he would only throw like one or two things from the switch stance, then get back into conventional orthodox and do work. Like, his best work was
I think he was only using the switch stance though when Gilbert Burns would get to the outside of his foot. He would go to the switch stance, throw a couple, and then try and go back to orthodox so that he could bait him into getting the outside foot. So, I'm sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to add that little thing I had noticed.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a switch fighter, so I'd have to go back and see if this is something he's done in previous fights, but I don't think so. I don't know if it was...
Sorry, go on. I was just going to say, sometimes just throwing in that a few extra looks is good just to keep your opponent guessing, especially if switching stances is going to take away their main weapons, which in the case for Gilbert Burns, that's that cross counter over the top of the jab was what was giving Usman a lot of problems.
And that's exactly, how he won the fight, right? By switching to, I guess, lefty, whatever the right word is, non-orthodox, southpaw, sorry, and then throwing that jab with the right and knocking him down because, he just switched up the look, and he'd been landing with the left jab the entire time, and just switched up the look. And after that, it was all she wrote. Man, I just gotta say, Usman is just taking another step in terms of like the scale of MMA. And I gotta say, I'm not a person who gets emotional in a lot of these MMA fights, but man, to see Adesanya and Usman as champions, I mean, as a Nigerian, how can you not feel like you can do whatever you want? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, how can you not feel like you can take over the world when you see these Nigerian
All
dudes?
right,
No,
calm
I'm
down.
just saying though. I'm
Calm
just
down.
saying,
Honestly,
man.
give him
No,
his
no,
moment.
I agree. I agree. No,
Even
When
honestly,
David when
No,
when
how could you be?
in the UFC 10 years ago.
when
Now,
David
like,
Yo,
when
how could you
when
be
David
upset?
watched this fight, he's like, "This gives me the confidence and power. This is the inspiration I needed to go get my feminist slam poetry anthologies published." He's like, I believe if they can rise to the top,
what was that one line? What was that one line in one where it's like, because Andrea Lee can fight, I believe I can be a doctor.
Oh, that was. Have you seen that, David? Have you seen that one? Oh my God, it's the worst promo ever. It's like no, you've never watched Angela Lee, like because it was a little Filipino girl. I think she's like, because Angela Lee win her fight, I know that I can become doctor. It's like no, no.
no, man. I
And
get
then
it. I
some
get
some
it.
like some like Japanese gentleman, he's like, because I was bullied in high school and I saw that Shinayoki is weird, it gives me the confidence to succeed as a mathematician. It's like stop.
No, I remember that
Their
promo. I was
promotional
like,
you have some good fights. Their promotional footage makes me want to take a Phillips screwdriver to my eye and just the cringe is overwhelming.
But you know what? They produce those things though. Like I love the production value, and when they do hit, they do hit. It's just that one specifically was like, oh, come on, guys.
It's like play to you guys are a fight promotion company.
Just
Promote
the fight.
It is easy. You have a good product. You have like cringe
Really
is
good
not an
product.
effective way to promote anything unless it's a cringe compilation. God.
Anyway, but yeah,
Well,
like
speaking on Usman,
Speaking
man,
of speaking of cringe, how about this co-main event?
no,
like,
no,
sorry,
yeah.
but I do want to speak on that Nigerian aspect because like I think David's really hitting the nail on the head though. Like if you do have some the one thing about the UFC, I always say it, as much as we kind of rag on them and having a bit of an antagonistic perspective on them sometimes, they do a really good job at promoting their product to anything not the USA.
Their
And I
product,
think
not their fighters.
that's fair.
I
That's
disagree.
fair.
I strongly disagree. I think Usman is successful in spite of the US. Well, but also in spite of the
In
UFC.
spite of the UFC.
Yeah, as
Sure.
well.
Okay, fair enough.
I think he could be even more popular if they gave him like the champion push that they give some of these other guys. And you know what? On the positive note, it sounds like after last night's fight, they're gonna be giving him the champion push a lot more. Because yeah, he seems like he was saying put some respect on my name, and even
Put some
Dana White
respect
after
on
the fight. Dana White, and maybe this is a question for another pod, but they were saying like at this point, who's a better welterweight in UFC history other than GSP? Maybe Matt Hughes. Like, who else is better than Kamaru Usman in welterweight history?
Honestly, I would say, let me look at Matt Hughes' resume here.
The thing about Matt Hughes was he was
Definitely a nicer
good.
person than Matt Hughes.
Yeah,
Is he? He's a Trump supporter, and
Yeah,
they're
but
still rooting for him.
Matt Hughes is a
was
Trump supporter as well, but he's also an
wow.
abusive piece of shit.
Oh, never
And
mind.
dude, you should watch some of these old Ultimate Fighters. Like a lot of people think Matt Hughes was this quiet guy. Nah, he said some
he's a dick. He's a
he
dick.
said rough things. I remember
Forcing his religion down people's throats and just
Well, I wouldn't say forcing. I don't remember it enforcing. Like I remember they used to have Bible study, which was kind of weird. But
well, he forced Bible study on. Yeah, okay. In February 2019, Hughes' wife filed a restraining order against him after she accused him of several instances of domestic violence. His brother Mark Hughes also filed a restraining order against him, claiming that Mac choked his son and tried to destroy his tractor. Hughes filed for divorce.
Sorry, I was just gonna say when you say we were gonna pull up his record, I thought you meant his fighting record.
Oh, I meant his criminal record.
Okay.
no,
anyways, I think as much of a scum as he is,
I don't remember him having like he beat Carlos Newton.
Hughes has a pretty storied record here. There's obviously some fights in there that don't age extremely well, but we've got Carlos Newton win to win the title. Hayato Sakurai, that was a big win. That was when Mach was, doing big things over in Pride. Carlos Newton again, Sean Shirk, Frank Trigg. After losing to BJ Penn, he comes back and beats him. beats George St. Pierre, Renato Verissimo, Frank Trigg again, Joe Riggs, the Royce Gracie fight, which is like, who the hell asked for that? And then BJ Penn. So that's a pretty solid record. I would like to see where Usman can go from here. I'm not a huge fan of evaluating people's legacies before they retire. And I always bring up the Bisping example of, if we were evaluating Bisping's record before the Luke Rockhold fight, what would we have said, right? So Usman from here, all I'll say is I like what I see, and he is on track to definitely surpassing Matt Hughes, 100%. But speaking of surpassing Matt Hughes, Macy Barber. I just want to say real quick. Because David was talking about, Usman, maybe he'll get the push he needs from the UFC now, and they choose to market some people and not others. Who the hell asked for a side of Macy Barber with their steak? Like, I don't get it. Who ordered this? Why is the UFC so intense on pushing her? Why is she a co-main event slot? I don't understand.
Yeah, that was confusing with Kevin Gastelum and Ian Heinisch right below.
I think,
and like,
maybe
there were fights that fell out. There were fights that fell out. We had a Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman fight on this card. Yeah. We had the oh god, what was the other one that I keep forgetting? There were a few other
Bobby Green
really sensuous fights on this card that fell out. But when you've got, like, why is this the co-main event? She hasn't fought in a year and a half, coming off a loss to Roxanne Modafferi.
You know what it is? Well, there was the knee injury, but so, like, you can make an argument, I guess, for the knee injury, but I think I know, but I think the thing is that maybe they know something about Macy Barber's numbers that we don't know. Like, I'm like, because I remember Israel Adesanya, like, you could tell he was on the cusp of something, but like, it wasn't like he was like killing pay-per-view buys. Like, yeah, people were talking about the anime thing. It's like, oh, the last album, but no one, he wasn't really killing it. In fact, I would say he was more hated than loved. And then the Calvin Gastelum fight happened, and then there was the explosion. So I don't know. Like, maybe they see something with the numbers and how they're trending.
That's a good point, actually.
I don't know. I think the UFC, to be honest, has this tendency of, like, forcing things in your face that is not based on genuine grassroots fan appeal, but based on who's willing to play ball with them.
Fair.
And I think we've seen that time and time again with the UFC's Aryan favorites like Sage Northcutt, and like they tried to push him so hard, gave him the biggest softball fights that they possibly could for the longest amount of time. And sometimes they just want to force these fighters in your face where you're like, I never wanted this. Stop, please. I don't want a side of Sage Northcutt, send it back. Send it to one.
Yeah.
I mean, to be
you
fair,
know what I think it is? Sorry, go ahead, David. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to be fair, though, this fight was actually pretty good. It was entertaining. More entertaining, I found, than the Gastelum in Heinisch fight.
Bullshit.
What?
If you like low-level mixed martial arts, if you're a fan of low-level mixed martial arts, I agree with you.
Alexa
and that's not a knock on Alexa Grasso, because I thought she looked good, but Macy Barber did not. I think sometimes this will happen in a fight. My theory of what happened, Macy Barber was fainting from like halfway across the octagon.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
I think that Alexa Grasso probably hits pretty hard. Cracked Macy Barber early, and you get that thing where it's like, this girl hits hard, and you feel just that resistance in your body to step in. You're like, I don't want to step. I'm going to stand out here and faint. Thank you very much.
Dude, on like a higher level, Manny Pacquiao used to do that to everybody. Manny Pacquiao, I remember when Manny Pacquiao, when he was in his prime, like I'm talking like that 15-fight prime, when they were talking him versus Floyd, there would be fights where for 3 rounds he would absolutely dominate, and the opponent was out to lunch. They were like, yeah, I'm gonna just stay out here for 8 rounds. Thank you very much. Like,
yeah, and not to make it comparisons between Grasso and Pacquiao.
That was a weird comparison.
I think Mike's just comparing the effect of the power that makes people just say, "Thank you very much. I'm gonna step back."
I actually think, and I'd have to go back and rewatch it, but I think like Grasso just outboxed Barber in those first 2 rounds. Literally just, not even like from a heart thing, because I think Barber showed a bunch of heart, especially in that 3rd round. But in those first 2 rounds, like, it was just a technical clinic. Each time, like Barber would come in and step in, Grasso would hit her with like a 1-2 or a 1-2-3 or something. Like her combos were really good. And more
Well, the
surprisingly,
problem
when
with
it
that,
hit the
Short
when it
short
hit the ground,
combos, short combos, good defensive boxing. She wasn't super active with her head movement, but she looked
in and
good
out,
up against the cage. Really waited for Macy to come to her, and when Macy did, she punished her. She seemed comfortable under fire, slipping shots, and what really surprised me was she looked pretty damn
the
good on the ground.
that's what
omoplata
I was
transition.
saying.
Yeah,
It
the
goes to the
omoplata
ground. She
transition.
starts. I was
The
like, wait, what the
omoplata
hell is
transition.
going on? I
Oh
thought Macy
man.
Barber was like this grappling phenom.
Because
Um,
the omoplata transition is something not very many people can do, and it's a very old school move, right? Like I like it a lot because you just have to you just go to the open side and transition. But here's the thing though. Alexa Grasso, the problem was never her striking. It was never her striking. It was just that she couldn't make 115, and she was also very very bad on the ground. But if she can make 115, and if she's working hard on her ground like she clearly was with that omoplata sweep,
I don't think she
well,
wants to make 115, given by what I've heard in the interviews. I think
yeah,
she's set on 25.
I think 125 is good for her.
yeah,
I can't even
I like
remember
125 for her.
who's even the champion at 125. Uh,
Valentina,
Valentina.
the
that's
queen,
a tough matchup. That's a tough matchup.
the spy.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, there's things that give me pause about her fighting Valentina. One of them being her ring awareness was not phenomenal, and against Macy Barber, she was able to compensate with head movement, where Barber's just swinging at her head though. She's just spamming shots at her head. Ring awareness is something that you're going to have to be very disciplined with Valentina, or she's going to end up luring you in. Also, she showed off her new tools on the ground against Macy Barber, which is respectable, but there's nothing to say that Valentina just won't. With that kind of ring awareness, get her to the cage, trip her, and armbar her. Because I'm not the biggest fan of Valentina as far as I'm not like I don't get super excited for her fights. I like Valentina. I don't have anything against her, but I think that quite honestly,
You're not against her skills. You're just against her style, right? So
no, not
like,
even. I'm not even against her style. I'm just against her fan base. I just think her fan base is very annoying. I don't like.
yeah, fair
I
enough.
don't like that people seemingly have no. How do we get onto Valentina? I don't like. I don't like how people love to hyperbolize about her and just say things that are blatantly not true and present her as this great finisher, which she's not. Because I don't have anything against styles that are a little more measured. And I do enjoy watching the technical spectacle that is Valentina. I just don't enjoy seeing her against low-level opposition, and I don't enjoy how she's promoted. That's all.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I will say with Alexa Grasso though, you know, I wonder what her cardio is like. I don't know if it's because Macy just like was just so intent of trying to get that finished, or if it was that Alexa Grasso was tired, but she did slow down a heck of a lot in that
Yeah.
third.
I
So
mean, and
no, no,
I also felt like by Barber, sorry, had the power advantage, not in the hands, obviously, but just in terms of like strength. She was like by far like the bigger fighter. And in that last round, she was just going for broke, man. So it's tough to kind of judge Grasso based on that. But I'm looking at the division, and she's not even ranked top 10. She could definitely beat some of the fighters ranked above her, like Jojo Calderwood, Lauren Murphy,
To not be
V.
ranked top 10 in this division is hilarious because there's probably
Yeah,
10
Jessica
fighters in it.
I, Modafferi, Calvillo, like there's a bunch of fighters that I think
dude, I
not
hate
Cynthia
I
Calvillo maybe.
hate Jessica I and I hate the way both Jessica I and Cynthia Calvillo fight. Like I gotta be honest. Like she's
I
definitely
like
better than
Cynthia
those two.
Calvillo, Jessica I not so much. But yeah, no, there's some more fights for her before she even gets close to a title shot, I think. But yeah,
100%.
where does BC
Which,
Barber go from
which is
here?
why it's so crazy that this is a co-main event.
Yeah, yeah. But
This is
I
mad.
can't argue with that. That's a very good point.
This is mad unprofessional, but I gotta leave my studio, walk into Michael's studio, and get my laptop charger.
all right. Do your thing, man.
All right.
Just I'm opening the door for you. I got you. All right,
By studio, he means Mike's messy ass bedroom.
whatever. Um,
So, anyways, then we have Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinich. Very, very fun grappling match. Kelvin does what he seems to do in every fight and hit that beautiful Peterson roll in the first round. That Peterson roll was fun. That was a sensuous little takedown. Gastelum looking like old Gastelum with his grappling. Those takedowns off of the flying knees were hilarious. Gastelum just gets run up flying knee square to the face and is like, well, that wasn't nice. I'm going to take you down now. Gastelum intent on working his wrestling. Well, what do you guys have to say about this?
Well, yeah.
Ian Heinich nearly getting that Kimura in the first round. I was pants.
Yeah. Man, it would have killed him to just hip escape and pull guard, but anyway. I think what happened was he had such great success against Adesanya in that fight that I think he was kind of not like we talk about diversity of weapons, right? Diversity of strikes, and I think that somehow Kelvin Gastelum turned into almost like a caricature of like that Henry Cejudo jumping brawling style where like Henry Cejudo likes to jump into like the pocket and then start swinging. Like Kelvin Gastelum was trying that a lot and it just wasn't really working for him. But now Kelvin Gastelum is just relying on truck movement for a means to kind of get either the takedown or to set up some combos, right? And if the combos aren't
boxing. I like his 1-2 from southpaw. I like his pull counters. He's a good basic boxer. Very rarely throws kicks when he needs to. He hurt Adesanya with it, obviously. But yeah, get back to what got you to the dance. He's a fun wrestler, man.
Agreed. For me, my eyes were on Heinich because lots of hype. It seems like he has, I don't know whether he has the skills or the talent, but from the hype, it seems like he has the skills and the talent. But for some reason, up against like some of the better guys in the division, he just doesn't seem to be able to kind of get past, that hurdle. So I thought Gastelum looked good, did what he needed to.
That Kamaru was close, however.
It was close, yeah.
That arm was straightened out behind the back, and that took some shoulder flexibility on the part of Gastelum.
Should we question Gastelum's submission defense? Because Jack Hermanson kind of, sort of, like, I think that was kind of the problem with Jack Hermanson, where Kelvin Gastelum takes him down off of a beautiful double overhook throw, and then Hermanson gets a heel hook off of him. So on 2 attempts too. So I think with Kelvin Gastelum, that might be kind of the chink in the armor a little bit, that he kind of falls into submissions though. No, or am I off base?
Maybe I'm gonna have to say let's wait and see.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go back and see which submissions he's been hit with. I think the chink in his armor is that he's too small for the division.
Gastelum's too small for the division?
Pardon?
Gastelum's too small?
Yeah, he's too small for the division.
Where is size really giving him problems?
The length of till, I think, gave him some issues in their fight. But then again,
he got outstruck in that one. Like, I don't think that was. Like,
it'd be interesting because another guy who I think can really who is a very tall middleweight. Not very I think a strength and conditioning program would really help him out. But Kevin Holland is a tall guy, 6'3", 6'2", right? Long, right?
I would like to see a Kevin Holland versus Gastelum fight. That sounds pretty good, actually.
I think that's a test to see, okay, are you too small? However, against 6'4" Adesanya, he's probably done the best anyone's ever done. So I don't.
But that's if that fight happens again, I don't think it plays out that way again. No disrespect to Gastelum, but I think there was an element of surprise in that. And Adesanya was getting caught in the pocket.
You felt like Adesanya was kind of caught off guard by his of guard, I guess.
Yeah, by his style.
Definitely an element of surprise, and Gastelum does have phenomenal timing. But I will say as well that who knows, maybe Gastelum could mix in the wrestling more this time, but we'll probably never see that fight because there's no way in hell Gastelum's going up to 205. Let's see what else you got. What else you got?
You guys want to talk about the Ricky Simone fight?
No.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Well, okay, just a quick review. I thought Ricky Simone did a really good job of baiting out boxing exchanges into level changes. Brian Kelleher got an excellent leaping left hook, and Ricky Simone able to take advantage of that. And when Kelleher would throw that out, he'd level change. Kelleher also a great guillotine. Ricky Simone able to stay out of trouble and just pop his head out every single time. I thought it was a fun fight. Keller taking advantage of that wide stance, throwing front kicks up the center, popped him a couple of times with that. But Ricky Simón is durable, fun, and Rodolfo Vieira could take a few notes on how to take people down in mixed martial arts without blowing out your gas tank from him. And then we've got Julian Marquez versus Maki Bitolo. I thought this was a fun fight.
Come on,
Maki, another loss.
Maki the grappler.
Man, there's so many. This pandemic's been filled with guys like this. Guys we know are talented, but like they just fighting so often and just picking up weird losses too.
Weird losses. It seemed like Pitolo just was faster than Marquez and had a few more ideas on the fight where on the feet, whereas Marquez was just looked slow in the early going, swinging single shots and really wasn't able to do much with it until, he was able to secure clinches, got it to the ground. Yeah, how about that transition from guillotine to anaconda? That was sweet.
Oof. Yeah. That's, you know what? You don't see that transition often. Like, you really don't, because people are so dead set on, like, finishing it with the guillotine that they don't switch to the anaconda or, like, stars for that matter.
And I can say from experience, as an experienced grappler, a certain point when you're not going to get the guillotine. You can feel it generally, right? Sometimes you're wrong, but often you're not. And you're like, I know I'm not getting this. It's time. And instead of just letting go and having someone pass your guard, you got to have some more ideas, and this was great. It was able to sneak that arm, from coming out the neck side to coming out the body and just locking that up, not even grabbing the leg with his legs, securing the arm and just compressing the head against his chest. And that was it. Yeah.
How about, it looks like Miley Cyrus and Marquez are going to be going on a date at some point, eh?
Yeah, Marquez, you can do better. Man, I just remember hearing Miley Cyrus's voice on that new Black Mirror episode that she's in. First of all, worst episode of Black Mirror ever made, that Miley Cyrus one. Like, why? It didn't even feel like Black Mirror. But
not the one with Michael Bisping?
There's a Black Mirror episode with Michael Bisping?
I believe so. Yeah, he's a security guard.
No, there's not.
Yes, there. Go look. Go watch.
Quick Google search.
Anyway.
And her voice, she was playing like a teen idol on this Black Mirror episode, and she is like, anyways, I'm 15 years old and my new single came out. Wait, Mom, don't steal my money. I'm Miley Cyrus.
It's
crazy.
Miley
Cyrus sound like a Martian.
No, because her voice has been gone due to I don't know if it's because
cocaine.
Yeah, I don't know what it is because I know what it is.
Cyrus is a great singer.
Michael Bisping wasn't in Black Mirror.
Propaganda on this pod.
I'm 90% sure he's in Black Mirror.
I'm looking at his IMDb.
Okay,
sure?
We can sort this one after the pod, for sure.
Yeah. Let's talk
sure,
about
we
this.
can sort this one out.
Twin Peaks, Triple X, Den of Thieves. Yeah, no, sorry, bud.
He was.
I want to talk about the next fight, the Anthony Hernandez versus Rodolfo Vieira.
See, yes. I wanted to spend some time on this one.
Me too. I actually watched this one just before the pod, and man,
can I lead with this one just because I want to? Yeah, I want to say something to my jiu-jitsu people out there.
Man, it was a sad day for them.
How's it going, my jiu-jitsu family? Now, as a jiu-jitsu guy first, I just want to say, if you are arrogant, and I don't care if you're Rodolfo Vieira, I don't care if you're Royce Gracie, it is not 1993. You cannot go into MMA, I don't care how much of a jiu-jitsu advantage you have, and not learn the meta and skill set and adapt it to MMA, and expect to win at the highest level. And eventually this was going to catch up with him. Rodolfo Vieira, at the beginning, able to succeed based on his explosiveness, shooting from halfway across the cage. And you could get away with it. And he looked great and dominated the ground game in the first round. But what gave me pause, the first thing to give me pause, is after that arm triangle attempt, when he went off for that arm bar, I'm like, you have a beautiful position. Keep it, keep the mount, and punch this guy in the face. Because with MMA, you are one transition away from slipping and ending up back on the feet and then having, unless you're a wrestler who's really familiar with that grind cycle, dragging people to the ground and beating them up, that ain't it, Chief. You've got to take advantage of the positions you're in, and punish. Make people, if you're going to get bumped out of this position, make them remember why they don't want to be there with you. Number two, you got to learn to wrestle for MMA. just being a better wrestler. Wrestlers don't even do this. Even the best jiu-jitsu guys like that have come to MMA, Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall didn't think he was going to be able to go in with a singular skill set. Even as much as we rag on him, what's his name? Gracie, who fights at 145.
Oh, Crone.
Crone even had a bit of a brawling. Like, his striking obviously wasn't up to par with Cub Swanson, but there was adaptations there. Quiet, Boomy. Brian Ortega, for God's sakes, learned to box. If you're going to be primarily a takedown wrestler, jiu-jitsu guy in MMA, you got to A, shoot under punches when your opponent's throwing at you, or B, use your punches as cover for a shot. You do not take a naked shot in the center of the cage.
I didn't have a problem with the naked shot, though. Like, it worked. Like, he got him down.
So
it worked. David, it worked once. Why did it work once? Because of the advantage in explosiveness. Why did it not work once his advantage in explosiveness faded? Can you tell me?
Because it's really poor technique.
No, it's not poor technique. It's good technique. It's predictable. It's poor tactics. You can see it coming from a mile away. You have to put up a smoke screen.
Dude, you know what? Not to like throw him under the bus, but you know what? Christian Yaboa used to do that a lot, right? Where it was like, first time, boom, he gets you, and you're like, wow,
here comes the bus driver now.
Wait, is that? Oh yeah, okay. I thought you actually saw the bus driver. Exactly.
No.
Exactly, and that's the thing. This is why this pisses me off, because jiu-jitsu guys should be succeeding at a higher level in MMA, but guys, it's not 1993 anymore. You can't get away based on a linear skill set, and this is why we don't see more high-level jiu-jitsu guys in MMA, and it pisses me off. You at least have to be competent enough in the other areas that they complement your jiu-jitsu. You don't have to be an expert in striking, but your striking should funnel your other skill sets into your jiu-jitsu. And once he started getting exhausted and his shots stopped working, he was a punching bag.
Yeah.
Well, there's other issues into jiu-jitsu as well. Like, it's not just that guys are arrogant, but there's other Boomy, look at him. Look at Boomy.
I don't think it was even a problem of jiu-jitsu necessarily. Although I do understand the background that Rodolfo Vieira is a jiu-jitsu multiple world champ.
One of the best.
And he got submitted too. He got submitted. Yeah. I
wish I put my life savings on Rodolfo Vieira getting submitted.
It was so interesting because it was clear when he came out, like, as Stefano said, shooting from halfway across the octagon. That means, like, you don't respect this guy. And it was pretty clear, like, he didn't respect his jiu-jitsu because he came to finish this guy in the first few minutes. And he was chasing. I kind of lost count in the number of, like, submissions he attempted in those first, like, 3 minutes, because if one wasn't working, instantly to the next one. Like, it was ridiculous. And credit to Anthony Hernandez, who survived. But as Stefano says, I didn't even see it as he didn't do the right thing when grappling. But I think once he stopped grappling, that's when, like, it became obvious, like, okay, this guy hasn't trained.
Why did he stop grappling, David?
Because he was
tired. Because it was why was he tired?
Because he was being predictable, and after a while, Anthony Hernandez figured him out.
Exactly, because he didn't have success with his skill set because he was being predictable, and trying to do something and failing is exhausting. I don't want to hear anything, and I'm glad you guys didn't bring it up. I don't want to hear anything about type 2 muscle fibers. I'm sorry, I don't want to hear anything about being explosive. Because that's what people were saying. A lot of people have been like, he's strong and explosive, that's why he's gassed. Sorry, no. You can be a big, strong, explosive guy and succeed in MMA. You just have to be tactical with your explosiveness. One of the things that
like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. Let's look at a couple of other grappling phenoms and how they've transitioned in MMA and done it correctly, right? And look, I don't hate Rodolfo Vieira. I don't want to come off like I'm a big fan of him and I want to see him succeed. The advantage of having that kind of grappling is not that you don't have to learn the other skill sets. It's that you have a revolver in your back pocket and you can pull it out and shoot someone in the head with it. But
like Cesar Pereira.
Related to that stuff, no. Related to that, all we need to do is just look at the main event. Gilbert Burns is also a BJJ phenom,
one of the best.
And he at any point he knows, like, if it goes out to the ground, like, I have the upper hand, like, I have, like, the trump card here, and all we need to do is look at the fight. Kamaru Usman has multiple opportunities to jump into this guy's guard and start playing the BJJ game with him, and doesn't because he knows.
He's got that. Yes,
exactly.
Revolver in his back pocket. The advantage is that you don't have to do any striking. It's that you can do less striking. Let's look at someone who's in the same division who doesn't have the same prowess on the feet. Let's look at a Damian Maia, for instance, right? Damian Maia, he learned 3 or 4 tools, right? He had a good straight left from southpaw, okay? And he would use that to secure single legs, and it worked for him to get to the top of the division and nearly become champion. Even like Hayato Max Sakurai back in the day. Phenomenal grappling. Went to Matt Hume after he had a little lack of success in his fights. Good low kick, good jab, good 1-2. Basic skill set. Funnel people into that. Like, Gilbert Burns forced Kamaru Usman to take a step back.
Khabib, Daniel Cormier, guys who have trump cards in wrestling, and yet at the same time will still box you up if you try and stand too far away. Like, you need, I hear what you're saying, you need to be more diverse. And one thing that really stood out for me was not only did he not did he have the arrogance in the beginning of the fight, but man, his hands were so low. And I get it, he's gassed, he's tired, but like, man, at a certain point when a guy is like framing you and then landing like multiple elbows, like, you gotta put your hands up, man. I just feel like, I know jiu-jitsu guys are renowned for having their hands low because, you want to shoot and get ready for
guys.
that, but like, man.
What I missed? Something about wrestling?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, man, I just felt like his hands were too low. I get he was gassed, but like, as I said, when a guy's framing you, elbowing you, like basically landing winging shots from like across the octagon, like, buddy, put your hands up, man. Like,
now, David,
why didn't see some striking training?
Why exactly? He was a punching bag in those later rounds.
One thing to be tired, even like the fundamentals of like what you should do when you're tired and boxing, like he wasn't doing, like keeping his hand, wasn't moving, wasn't doing anything. Even after
here's the good news if you're a fan of Rodolfo Vieira like I am. Because he's such an expert in one skill set, the adjustments you have to make are smaller than somebody else would if they had this big hole in their game.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that this is what's going to happen. He's going to go back. He's going to learn from this, right? He's going to talk to Jason Perillo, because that's what all the jiu-jitsu guys do. They go to Jason Perillo, and, they're going to, by the way, great guy. But, they're going to learn. He's going to learn. And then he's going to come back. He's going to be better. So, I like Rodolfo Vieira a lot, right? Good, surprisingly, a good pure wrestler. He's not a bad wrestler. So
he's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
But can we get a 1-2, please? Can we get a 1-2?
Yeah.
Right? Did he throw a punch?
He did throw some punches, but mostly it's just like cover. And he didn't throw any ground and pound. How do you get to mount and not throw ground and pound?
Yeah.
You're a gorilla. You're a gorilla-looking gentleman, and you're not.
He just did a quick sub. Like that, like he just wanted a quick sub, and once he couldn't get it, like it was almost like he was out of ideas and out of energy to even think of anything else.
Even to talk to a lower level, what did Condi do? Remember when Condi was facing that gentleman he'd be in a minute? Knee on belly. What did he do? Landed a hammer fist. Then he goes to mount. What does he do? Wail like 13 punches in a row. Like, positional control does not mean just stay in there until submission opens up, right?
Yeah.
Like,
if you know, and that's the thing. If you know someone's not going to throw punches on you from top, keep your arms in. It's a lot easier to not get submitted and do nothing and play defensive. But if you start punching someone in the face, they make mistakes and the submissions come easy.
Yeah.
I wanted
credit to Hernandez, man. He played defense pretty well.
Yeah.
Like
credit to Hernandez. He was very responsible in that first round.
Mm-hmm.
He took his shots. I didn't love his punching style. Obviously, it was kind of winging. But it worked, right? And eventually he started switching it up a little bit, and that's what got him. And the balls on the guy to even be going for any kind of submission on Rodolfo Vieira. I mean,
was just about to say.
I gotta ask you guys, if it was you, would you, even if you've rocked this guy, but like this is a multiple-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, you're not going.
This guy's got balls of iron.
Big ups for submitting national champion in jiu-jitsu. That, like, to answer your question, I wouldn't even attempt it. I would just be afraid to get my arm torn off, bro. Like, I would attempt it. Like, I'd be like, all right, get back up, let's start striking again so I can knock you out or something. I'm not gonna play with that.
Guys, if anyone out there has a time machine that they have access to, if anyone has a time machine, send it to the Late Kick podcast. We'll
Dude,
go back in time and put all of our money on Hernandez by submission.
I would have bet the fucking house. Like,
dude, here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do from now on. Like, even if it's just a super unlikely outcome, I'm just gonna put like a small amount of money on it. You know, it's like you either lose $10 or you make an easy $300 from that. You know what I mean? Like just a tiny amount. You know, what are the chances? You know,
doesn't seem like a very successful strategy long term, but I like where you're at.
No. So, but man, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, sorry. Go you first because I was gonna move on.
No, because I was just gonna say, but man, like, who would, dude? That is so embarrassing if you're Rodolfo Vieira.
And he almost tapped him out in the first round too. Like, let's not forget, Hernandez almost tapped him in the first round, which means he was already gassed like by halfway into the round. But I think we've beaten the point. Yeah.
Speaking of embarrassing, not related to fights, but related to broadcast. Did you hear what John Anik said during the Gutierrez versus Ewell fight? Oh my God. He was like, both of these men involved in custody battles for their sons, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he starts going on about that. I'm like, I felt gross. I'm like, I don't need to hear about that. Like, stop. This is personal. Like, is this supposed to make me more interested in the fight? It's like, are there some kind of stakes? Does like the winner get to keep their kid? Like, what's going on? Why are we bringing this up?
Man, that was John
Anik. That a lot.
Yeah.
I have all full respect for Anik, but like, yeah, I get that he doesn't have like, you know, the technical breakdown. That's not his role, and maybe he is trying to just add more context, but we don't need that kind of context, man.
I don't think it was Anik's fault because he seemed like he felt gross while it was coming out of his mouth. I think some producer was like, all right, gave him some notes. All right, you got to touch on the custody battle. It's like, why?
Yeah, this is your talking
just do it.
For
fucking fired.
Dude, okay, see, like, that's the thing. I was going to say, I have a story about this because I remember one time I had an interview with, do you remember the channel To Catch a Cheater? Does anyone remember that channel? No. Okay. Yeah. So I actually got an interview with Luis and Sam from To Catch a Cheater, right? And so I'm interviewing these guys, and my producer keeps telling me, hey, ask them about if it's fake. Ask them about, you know, if, like, the ethics of reality television. Ask him about, and I was like, why would I ask him about these things? And I felt so weird. And so, like, first of all, I'm late because the same producer calls us a surprise meeting, right? So I'm already into this thing 20 minutes late. And secondly, like, I'm asking him things to these guys that just are not going to go over well. And I felt like John Anik was just in that weird position. So thank you, Stefano, for bringing that up. Like, sometimes it's not Anik.
Yeah, because I could feel the disgust in his voice as he was saying it. You know,
that's hilarious.
It was palpable.
We've all been there in terms of being at work and you have to say or do something that you might not personally agree with, but you just do it because you know you're a professional. And John Anik's like that kind of guy.
Yeah. What
hardest working guy in show business. I think.
Maybe we've got to wrap this up soon because I got to go see the family for Family Day. So maybe I'll save the bad take for this Friday, but I wanted to, maybe we can finish this off on a personal note with some stories for us. So Mike shared his experience. Maybe you guys can share some personal stories. What are some things that you had to do at work that you didn't want to do?
Right. Oh, for the record, I just want to say, producer, nicest person in the world, great producer, but she forced me to
scumbag. You're already out of it. It's okay, Mike. I remember once, and there's probably a lot more things that I had to do at work that I didn't want to do. But this one comes to mind as something that's just humiliating. Off of the Christmas season, I was in high school, I think. Here, Boomy's asking to go out again. Little munchkin. So I'm working at, I'm like 15, 16 years old. It's one of my first jobs. I'm working at Aeropostale for the Christmas season at Vaughan Mills. And they're like, hey, you're going to go out front, and you're going to hold the sign in front of the store. And you're going to yell at people about our discounts. I'm like, God, I don't want to do that. That's embarrassing. They're like, well, you got to do it. It's your job. And I'm like, I'm out there, 15-year-old me, like, 15% off T-shirts. And I'm just like, oh, my God, this is – I hope no one sees
you now baking in the sun, twirling your sign.
No. It was in the mall. It was in the mall in Vaughan Mills, like out front of the store, on Boxing Day, and I'm just like, I hope no one sees me. I
That's
want to
even more
just
embarrassing.
vanish.
That's even
Yeah,
more
I want to vanish
than
right
being
now.
on the side of the road.
And I'm just, I'm like, I want to vanish right now. And I'm like, looking back on it, it's like, man, capitalism makes you do the darndest things. Really?
Yeah, man.
David, Jeremy, you got any
me.
stories?
Quickly for me, I used to work in a group home not too long ago, like not that long ago at all, like a couple of years ago, and yeah, I was like on the daily, like wrestling kids and like restraining them. I hated it. I hated it. And these
Really?
kids, yeah, man, and these kids were like, let's say neurodiverse and had a lot
It's
of like
a
issues and stuff
yeah.
growing up. So yeah, like, and we're just kind of like, we're so draconian with these kids. We were so strict, and yeah, man, it was hell. They were also super racist though, so I don't know if I felt bad about restraining them, but I do think like fundamentally it was the wrong thing to do.
The kids were racist?
Mad racist, like some of the most racist things I've ever heard in my life
Like
came out
what?
of like the 2 months I worked that job. Like it was crazy. Some guy was like, "Oh, in fact, I'll give you two examples. One kid was like, "Oh, do you know Kevin Durant? You like?" I'm like, "Yeah." You like Kevin Durant? I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Yeah, I bet you do because you're a nigger." I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, that doesn't
Whoa,
have
whoa.
anything.
Did you slap him?
And then the second one, this person I was working with, we're outside hacking darts because that's how would kill time. It was basically like a babysitting job. So a couple of hours we'd step outside and hack a dart. And I'm hacking darts with like the rest of my colleagues, and one of my female colleagues who must have been like not into guys or something, because I don't know why she would say this. She's like, "Yeah, David. Oh, I can't remember what she said. I can't remember the context, but she basically said like, "Oh yeah, I bet you've got a big dick." And I'm just like, "Wait, what?"
What?
Like, where? And then my boss looks me in the eye, a guy, a white man, and he's like, "Yeah, right." I'm like, "What?"
Wait, do you
I'm
though?
like, I mean, even if I did, I wouldn't be telling you guys at work. How is that relevant to like
That's
whatever we're
that's
doing?
so inappropriate. That's so funny.
Man, I remember my driving instructor when I was getting my G license, right? Like, okay, so like a girl I was dating at the time, right? Like I told him like, I'm dating this girl, and like he's like, yeah, what race is she? I was like, Asian. And then he goes, you must destroy her. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
like, come on, man. We don't want to hear that thing. White people, we don't want to hear that. Like,
Oh,
No.
like, that's some weird stuff.
since we're speaking about racist comments, my Boomy, you just went outside. I know the struggle of like, when I tell people that I'm dating an Asian girl, I get the exact same kind of comments. Like one time, I don't remember who I said it. Someone's kind of peripherally in my friends group. They're like, "So does it bother you that your kids are going to be half Asian?" I'm like, "Why would that bother me?" They're like, "Oh, no reason." I'm like, "What? Why? Why would that bother me? Like, I don't understand."
Like, you do know that if you have sex with her, like, you could have a half Asian baby, right? Like, just checking, just making sure you know. Like,
It's like, yeah, I know what I
yeah.
realized that. Did you realize that you're a racist scumbag?
That's
But
so
yeah, no,
dumb.
that's my story about working in a what's it called? Oh man, I got so many more dark
I,
stories about that group home. But
I always
anyway,
wondered. It's like you're in this environment, and there are these kids that have been, through the ringer. It's like, you know what these kids get used? Strict discipline. I bet
for
disadvantaged kids will
real.
respond well to strict discipline from an
And
authority figure. 'Cause
constant surveillance, strict discipline, constant surveillance, and the removal of their rights and freedoms. Yes.
oh God, yeah.
So dumb, man.
I've never I've never
Bob?
had a job where I've had to do anything
Oh, Jeremy's never had a job.
because I'm just so damn lovable that people just don't want to put me through the BS. So, I mean, when I worked at Fortino's, I had to dress like a little French boy, so I guess that was the uniform.
That's
So
That's
I
kind of
didn't
hot.
like that.
really funny. I would pay
They
money
gave
to
me
see
like a
that.
little hat and a little uniform that kind of looked mad corny. So there was that. And anything where I have to work with children, like David, that sounds like nightmare. That sounds like a nightmare.
Kids I love kids, man.
Easiest jobs.
I
The
hate
easiest
teaching.
jobs are working with kids because you don't have to take yourself seriously. Like none of it's serious. You can be a goofball for like hours.
Yeah, but you
know?
have to listen to like the dumb questions all day. Like
I,
you know,
I
And
love
there's always
kids.
that
I
one
hate
kid who's
teaching
trying
kids.
to be
I hate
cool,
teaching kids.
and there's always that one kid who's trying to be cool, like always.
Yeah.
Love it though, because I was that kid. I was like, the kid who's just like, what are you doing, buddy? Like, come on. Everybody else is trying to study for this test, and you're over there just, I don't know, drawing planets on the roof or something like that.
David was
So I
drawing
loved,
planet.
like,
You were drawing planets on the roof.
man, I was the kid like eating grass in the corner while everyone was playing like soccer or something like that. Like
Well,
I
that
was
explains.
not.
No, you know
But
what
yeah,
though?
man,
I have to say with David though, it's very rewarding teaching kids. Like at least with martial arts, it's
Oh, I
very
hate it.
rewarding
I hate
I
kids.
love it.
I love
because
kids. I love kids. I hate teaching them. Go on. Sorry, Mike.
no, I was just gonna say because like
I hate it. I'm teaching.
they
yeah.
when they're
But I'm with
kids though,
Stefano. I hate it because like when I volunteer coach for football, it's like why don't you get this? It's so easy.
See, for me, it's not even that. If the kid's willing to learn, I'm like, cool. That's awesome. I don't care how unskilled you are. But so
It's
many
just
kids
getting the
either
kids to learn.
don't want to be there, or they're
Yeah.
intentionally trying to push your buttons. And it's like, if there wasn't a structured, like, I've got to teach you stuff, we could have fun, just play dodgeball.
My thing,
But like, usually it's like, okay, you don't want to pay attention. All right, go sit in timeout. Like, okay, we'll run suicides for the rest of
never.
class. And then I just feel like I'm
Yeah,
babysitting.
First of all, we don't do them things anymore, Stefano. This isn't Coach Carter. Like, come on, take it easy.
Anti-abortion
like,
movie, Coach Carter. Wait, no, it was pro-abortion. Never mind.
I always went with the approach of, like, we're all here to have fun. Like, my job is to let you guys have fun, and it's to instruct you guys on how to have fun within this like context. So the longer you take away from me completing like my little spiel, the less fun we're gonna have, kind of thing. And that always used to work.
it's getting the kids to buy in though. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Like kids surprisingly, like they're worse than adults surprisingly at getting to buy in. I think it's
Oh, really?
because adults understand the
Because
value
they're
of
not
it.
paying
But
for it.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
kids, well, their attention span these days seems to have
That's
decreased. I
real.
know I sound like a boomer, but it's true. Oh
That was
man,
a fun segue.
that was a fun segue. I wanted to ask you guys about potential fights you've gotten into at work because I have a host of those. But you know what?
Oh,
We'll save it.
remind
We'll
me.
save
We'll
it.
save it. We'll save this for story time. We'll have a new story time segment from now
Wow,
on.
what a perfect question for this week, eh? Michael knows that it's kind of a thing between me and Michael. I can let you guys in on it.
So yeah, save those stories for next week. Tune into the Leg Kick podcast, guys. Next week we're going to Friday we're going to be doing a little preview. We've got a nice supple card coming up, I believe. Do we have a,
Blades Lewis?
It's Lewis Blades.
yeah, that's an not all heavyweight, but it's there's quite a few heavyweights on that card. That should be a fun.
Blades Lewis, Kunitskaya versus Ketlin Vieira, Tom Aspinall, who's actually pretty decent, versus Andrei Arlovsky, so that's not a bad one.
Okay.
Chris Dawkins?
Charles Rosa, Derek Minor, Olinsky versus Daukas. Okay,
Yeah, that's not a bad one.
Phil Huz. This is an interesting card. Not the biggest name value, but for a fight night, I'm pretty excited for it.
Oh, and then we have Faraz Zahabi's brother fighting.
Jared Flash Gordon. Yeah, that's the one with Drakkar Close, Luis Pena. Eddie Wineland's back.
Was that an undercard fight? Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Canelo's
Rosa.
fighting at the end of the month, by the way.
Who's fighting at the end of the month?
Canelo.
Oh, who's he fighting?
He signed a 2-fight deal with DAZN, so his first fight is against Verdum.
Fabricio Verdum. Got it.
Got it.
Anyways, Bellator lost his own. They're not lost, but they went to Showtime now, which is interesting. Anyways, we're the Leg Kick Podcast, guys. Like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Jerry, we love doing this. Help us, please. For the love of God, I'm being held hostage. Help me. No, help us at the Leg Kick Podcast produce great content for you, and you can do that completely for free just by telling other people about it. Because we're lazy and we don't want to work real jobs. And if you can give us enough subscribers, we can do this as a full-time job. We're better than the rest, and we are out here giving you more hot takes than Stephen A. Smith, who Mike seems to love for some reason. Anyways, if you don't subscribe, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hire Mike as your interior decorator, and basically that just means that he's gonna throw a bunch of clothes on your floor and put an assortment of random backpacks on your couch. Like, Mike, what the hell is that? Did you finish your pancakes, by the way?
Some of this is not mine, by the way.
Did you finish your pancakes?
Yes, I did, because I'm a growing boy.
Well, we're happy for you, Mike. You better not leave any syrup on that plate. Anyways, Mike, to play us out, what does that mean?
It's like, what does that mean? We'll do it live. No,
fuck it, we'll do it live.
All right.
I love at the end of that clip, he throws anyway. In this crazy mixed up world where we are not Bill O'Reilly because we actually respect women, just remember 3 things. You got life, you got family, and this podcast. Take it easy, everybody.
Goodbye.
Wakanda
for sometimes.